I found the folder the night before my wedding while looking for my grandmother's necklace in Adrian's study. The folder was red leather, expensive like everything Adrian owned, tucked behind books on a shelf I wasn't supposed to touch. Inside were photographs of me, hundreds of them, dating back 3 years, 2 years before I'd even met Adrian. Me leaving my apartment, me at my job at the art gallery, me having coffee with friends, me walking through parks, me existing in a life I'd thought was mine, never knowing that I was being watched. There were also documents, employment records showing Adrian's family owned the gallery that had hired me, lease agreements showing they owned my apartment building, bank statements from my landlord, my boss, even some of my friends, all receiving payments from Basile Holdings. And at the bottom, a handwritten note in unfamiliar script. She's perfect. Everything you wanted. I made sure she'd be in the right place at the right time. The rest was easy. L. Luca, Adrian's younger brother. The quiet one who'd been kind to me, who'd helped plan the wedding, who'd never looked at me with anything but gentle friendship. Luca had done this, had orchestrated my entire life, so Adrian could swoop in and play the charming suitor. I sat on the floor of Adrian's study, my wedding dress hanging in the closet upstairs, my rehearsal dinner dress still on, and tried to understand. Adrian Basile had seemed like a miracle when we met 18 months ago. Successful, handsome, attentive in ways that made me feel seen after years of failed relationships. He'd pursued me carefully, never too aggressive, always respectful, making me feel like I was choosing him instead of the other way around. Except I hadn't chosen anything. Every moment, every decision, every coincidence that brought us together. It was all designed, manufactured. My life was a stage play, and I'd been the only one who didn't know I was performing. The study door opened. I looked up, expecting Adrian. Found Luca instead. He was younger than Adrian by 4 years, softer around the edges, with dark eyes that always seemed sad about something. He saw the folder, saw my face, and went pale. "Sophia, you weren't supposed to find that. Clearly." I stood, holding the folder like evidence. "You did this. You orchestrated my entire life. Why?" He closed the door, leaned against it. "Because Adrian wanted you, and Adrian always gets what he wants." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer that matters." He moved into the room, careful, like approaching something that might bolt. 3 years ago, I saw you at a gallery opening in Florence. You were looking at a Caravaggio, and you had this expression, like you were seeing something divine. I fell for you right there, completely, stupidly." He smiled without humor. "But I'm the younger brother, the one who handles logistics and security, not the heir, not the one worthy of a woman like you. So, I did what I do. I solved the problem. I found out everything about you, where you lived, worked, what you needed, and I made sure Adrian would meet you when you were ready, when circumstances were perfect. You're talking about manipulating my life like it's a favor. To Adrian it was. To me," he looked away, "to me it was the only way to keep you close, even if you'd never be mine. You're insane. Both of you are insane." "Probably, but it worked. You fell for Adrian. You said yes when he proposed. Tomorrow you marry into the family and you're protected, wealthy, cared for. What's insane about that?" "The part where I didn't choose any of it." I backed toward the door. "I need to leave." "You can't. The wedding is tomorrow. 300 guests, business partners, politicians. This isn't just a wedding, Sophia. It's a merger. Adrian's been planning this for 2 years." "Planning what?" "Everything." Luca's voice was hollow. "The marriage isn't about love. It's about legitimacy. Adrian needs a wife from outside the organization. Someone clean, educated, respectable. Someone who makes him look like more than a crime lord's son. You're the perfect accessory. Beautiful, cultured, innocent, and completely under his control." "I'm not under anyone's control. Aren't you? Where will you go? Your apartment belongs to us. Your job belongs to us. Your friends, Half of them are on the payroll. We own your life, Sophia. Running just means we have to retrieve you. I looked at this man I'd thought was kind, saw the calculation underneath. Did Adrian ever actually love me? I don't know. He loves winning. He loves control. Whether that includes you specifically, or just the idea of you. Luca shrugged. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I pulled out my phone. Luca's hand shot out, grabbed my wrist. Don't! You call the police, they're on our payroll. You call your parents, Adrian will have them questioned about their finances until they convince you to come back. There's no authority that can help you. There's just us. I twisted free, ran for the door, made it to the hallway before Luca caught up, spun me around. Sophia, please. Listen to me. I know this is horrible. I know we betrayed you. But running is dangerous. Adrian doesn't accept rejection. If you leave, he'll hunt you. And when he finds you... He stopped. I can't protect you if you run. I don't want your protection. I want my life back. That life never existed. It was all designed. But Sophia, his voice dropped. If you stay, if you go through with the wedding, I'll help you. I'll teach you how to navigate this world. How to find freedom within the cage. You'll have money, power, access to everything, and I'll be there. Always. Making sure Adrian doesn't hurt you. Why would you do that? Because I love you. Actually love you. Not the idea of you. Not what you represent. You. His hands were shaking. I know that doesn't excuse what I did, but I'm offering what I can. Stay, and I'll spend my life making this bearable. I looked at him and saw genuine pain, genuine regret, but also the same calculation that had orchestrated my life. Luca loved me, but not enough to let me go. Just like Adrian wanted me, but not as a person, as a possession. I said, I'm leaving, don't follow me. I ran before he could respond. Out of the villa, past security, who tried to stop me until I screamed that I'd call the police about their employers. Down the driveway in my rehearsal dinner dress and heels, onto the street in Rome's wealthy suburbs, into the night, with nothing but my phone and my grandmother's necklace I'd been searching for in the first place. I ran until I couldn't breathe, then kept running until I found a taxi. Gave the driver an address, a hostel in Trastevere where I'd stayed years ago before my life had been hijacked. Paid cash I'd grabbed from my purse. Got to the hostel at 1 a.m., checked in under my maiden name, locked myself in a shared room with 5 sleeping backpackers, and finally let myself fall apart. I'd almost married a man who saw me as an acquisition, had been manipulated by his brother who claimed to love me. My entire life for 3 years had been a lie, and I had nowhere to go that wasn't owned by the Basile family. I needed a plan, needed to disappear properly, needed to become someone they couldn't track. I spent the rest of the night researching. The Basile family had connections throughout Italy, especially Rome, but their influence was weaker outside Europe. I needed to get far away, fast, before Adrian realized I wasn't coming back. At dawn, I used my phone to book a flight, Istanbul, leaving in 4 hours. Used a credit card that wasn't connected to Adrian or the wedding planning, cut my long dark hair in the hostel bathroom, dyed it blonde with supplies from a pharmacy, changed into clothes I bought at a tourist shop. Jeans, t-shirt, sunglasses. Became someone other than Sophia Marchetti, Adrian Basile's runaway bride. The airport was chaos. I kept expecting someone to grab me, to stop me, but I made it through security and onto the plane. 6 hours later, I landed in Istanbul, a city I'd never been to, where I knew no one. I lasted 3 days before Adrian found me. I'd been careful, staying in cheap hotels, paying cash, avoiding cameras. But I'd made one mistake. I'd called my sister from a payphone to tell her I was safe. 30 minutes later, Adrian walked into the cafe where I was having tea. He looked exactly as he always did. Perfect suit, perfect hair, cold fury hidden behind a pleasant smile. He sat down across from me without asking. Sophia, you missed our wedding. My heart was trying to escape my chest. How did you find me? Your sister. She was worried. Called me immediately after you spoke. I had people at the payphone within 20 minutes, tracked you to this neighborhood. He ordered coffee in perfect Turkish. You've made this very difficult. Running the day before our wedding. Embarrassing me in front of 300 guests. Wasting months of planning. Why? Because I found out the truth, that you manufactured our entire relationship. That you don't love me, you just want to own me. Love, such a childish concept. He stirred his coffee. I chose you. I gave you opportunities, comfort, a life most women dream of. And you throw it away because the circumstances weren't spontaneous enough. Grow up, Sophia. You had me followed for 2 years before we met. You bought my job, my apartment, my life. That's not love, that's obsession. It's pragmatism. I needed a wife. I had specific requirements. Luca found you. We made it happen. Adrian leaned forward. And now you're going to come back to Rome? We're going to have a quiet ceremony, and you're going to be the wife I paid for. Or this gets very unpleasant. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. Because your parents have a lovely home in Naples. Your sister has 2 children. Your friends have jobs and families. And all of them can be made very uncomfortable very quickly if you don't cooperate. His smile was ice. I don't want to hurt people, but I will to get what's mine. So choose, Sophia. Come willingly, or come after I've destroyed everyone you care about. I looked at him and understood. This wasn't love or even possessiveness. This was business. I was an asset he'd invested in, and he wasn't accepting a loss. Before I could answer, someone else sat down at our table. Luca. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept since I'd left. He said to Adrian, "Let her go." "Excuse me. Let her go." Luca's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "She doesn't want this. Forcing her only makes you the monster she thinks you are. She's my fiancé. She agreed to marry me. Under false pretenses, based on a life I manufactured." Luca looked at me. "I'm sorry, Sophia. I thought I was helping, but I just made you a prisoner. You deserve better." Adrian's pleasant mask cracked. "You're choosing her over family, over loyalty." "I'm choosing what's right. For once." Luca stood. "Sophia, I can get you somewhere safe. Somewhere we can't reach. It'll take time, but I can do it. If you want." I looked between the brothers. Adrian with his cold calculation. Luca with his genuine regret. Both of them offering cages. One gilded, one supposedly benevolent. Neither offering actual freedom. I said, "I don't need either of you to save me. I'm saving myself." I threw my tea in Adrian's face and ran. Made it to the street, into a crowd, lost myself in Istanbul's chaos. Behind me, I heard shouting, but I didn't look back. Just ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. I ended up in a mosque, sitting in a quiet corner trying to breathe. A woman in hijab asked if I was okay, offered water. I took it, thanked her, tried to figure out my next move. My phone rang. "Luca." Against my better judgment, I answered. "How did you get this number?" "I'm good at finding things. Sophia, Adrian's furious. He's calling in everyone, security, contacts, police. He's going to turn Istanbul upside down looking for you. You need to leave, now, tonight." "Where?" "East. He'll expect you to go back to Europe or maybe America. Go to Dubai. I have a contact there who owes me. She'll help you disappear properly. New identity, new life." "Why are you helping me?" "Because I love you enough to let you go. Because Adrian never will." He was quiet for a moment. "The contact's name is Mariam Curie. She runs a network helping women escape difficult situations. I'll send you her information. She'll meet you at Dubai airport." "Luca, I know you hate me. You should. But please, let me do this one thing right." The line went dead. 2 minutes later, a text came through. Contact information, flight details, money wired to an account I could access. Everything I needed to run. I didn't trust it. Didn't trust him. But I also didn't have better options. I booked the flight, left Istanbul that night, landed in Dubai 12 hours later into heat and glass towers, and a woman holding a sign with a name that wasn't mine. Mariam was maybe 50, elegant, sharp-eyed. She took me to a villa in the suburbs, gave me food and rest, asked no questions until I was ready. Finally, I said, "Why do you owe Luca?" "He saved my daughter. She was trapped in a marriage to one of the Basile associates. Luca helped her escape, gave her a new identity, protected her when his family wanted her found. He's not like Adrian. He has a conscience." He still helped Adrian manipulate me. I know, he told me. He's trying to make amends. She handed me documents. New passport, new identity, bank account with enough to start over. You can be anyone now, Sophia. Go anywhere. Adrian will keep looking. Then you stay ahead of him. You're smart. Use that. She paused. Or you do what I did. You stop running and start fighting. Fighting how? The Basile family has enemies, rivals, people who would pay very well for information about their operations. You spent time with Adrian. You know things. Use them. I'd never considered fighting back, had been focused on escape, but Miriam was right. I knew things about Adrian's businesses, his connections, his vulnerabilities. And I had Luca, who seemed willing to help even if I didn't trust his motives. I said, if I do this, if I fight instead of run, I need more than information. I need leverage. What kind? The kind that makes Adrian too afraid to chase me. That costs him more to pursue me than to let me go? I thought about the documents I'd seen in his study, about conversations I'd overheard during wedding planning. Adrian's planning something, a merger with another family. The wedding was part of it, showing stability, legitimacy. If that falls apart... He looks weak, vulnerable. Miriam smiled. You're thinking like someone who can win this. Over the next week, Miriam helped me build a plan. We identified Adrian's rivals, gathered evidence of his operations that I could use as leverage, set up meetings with people who hated the Basile family. And I contacted Luca. One encrypted message. I'm not running anymore. I'm fighting. Are you still helping? Or do I do this alone? His response came immediately. I'm helping. Tell me what you need. What I needed was information about Adrian's actual plan. Why he'd wanted me specifically. Why this wedding was so important it was worth years of manipulation. Luca sent files, and what I read made my blood run cold. The wedding wasn't about legitimacy, it was about inheritance. Adrian's father, the head of the Basile family, had stipulated in his will that leadership passed to whichever son married first and produced an heir. Adrian had been racing against time, against Luca, to secure control. I was just the fastest route to that goal. But there was more. Luca had uncovered evidence that Adrian was planning to betray his father, to take control early by undermining the old man's health, making him appear incompetent. The wedding was meant to happen fast so Adrian could claim legitimate succession before anyone questioned what was happening. And if I'd married him, I would have been complicit. An accessory to patricide, trapped not just by marriage, but by guilt. I called Luca. You knew what Adrian was planning. I suspected. I didn't have proof until you ran, and I started digging deeper. His voice was tired. I'm sorry, Sophia. I thought I was giving you a better life. I gave you a nightmare. Why tell me now? Why not just let me disappear? Because Adrian's not going to stop. And the only way you're safe is if he's destroyed. Not just embarrassed. Completely destroyed. Luca took a breath. I can help you do that, but it means turning against my family. It means I lose everything too. Then why do it? Because I love you, and because Adrian's planning to kill our father. I can't let that happen. Even for family loyalty, there are lines. We spent 2 weeks building the case. Luca sent me everything. Financial records, communication logs, evidence of Adrian's betrayal. I compiled it, made it airtight, sent copies to Adrian's father, to his rivals, to authorities who couldn't be bought. And then I called Adrian. He answered immediately. Sophia, ready to stop playing games. I have everything. Documents showing your plan to overthrow your father, evidence of embezzlement, proof you've been undermining family operations. It's all backed up, ready to go public if anything happens to me. Silence. Then, you're bluffing. Ask Luca. He's the one who helped me find it all. I let that sink in. Your brother chose me over you. Turns out blood isn't as thick as you thought. I'll kill him. Try, but the moment you do, everything goes public. Your father finds out, your rivals find out, the police find out. You lose everything, or... I paused. You let me go. You tell everyone the wedding was mutual decision to part ways. You never contact me or my family again. And I keep your secrets. Why would I believe you'll keep quiet? Because I don't want to spend my life looking over my shoulder. I want to disappear. This deal gives us both what we want. More silence. Finally, fine, you disappear. But Sophia, if you ever surface, if I ever see you again, the deal is off. You'll wish you'd married me when you had the chance. I'll take my chances. I hung up. Miriam was smiling. You just negotiated with the Mafia heir and won. Who are you? Someone who's done being a victim. Luca called an hour later. Adrian's furious, but he's accepting the deal. My father knows now about the betrayal. Adrian's being stripped of succession. He laughed bitterly. I'm probably being killed too, eventually, for helping you. Then come with me. Disappear. Start over. I can't. This is my family, my responsibility. I have to stay and try to fix what Adrian broke. He was quiet. But Sophia, thank you for showing me there's something worth more than loyalty to people who don't deserve it. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. Luca, I can't forgive what you did, but I understand why. And if you ever need to disappear, I have your number. Maybe someday. He hung up. I stayed in Dubai for 3 months, long enough to be sure Adrian was keeping the deal, long enough to create a real identity that wasn't manufactured by someone else, long enough to figure out who Sophia Marchetti actually was when she wasn't being manipulated. Then I moved again, to Singapore, started working at an auction house specializing in Renaissance art, the thing I'd loved before my life had been hijacked. Built real friendships, dated people who didn't have secret agendas, lived a life that was finally, actually mine. 2 years after running from my wedding, I got a message from an unknown number. Just 3 words. He's gone. L. I knew what it meant. Adrian. Either dead or disappeared. Either way, the threat was over. A week later, Luca showed up at my apartment in Singapore. He looked different, thinner, older, with scars I didn't remember. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he was welcome. I said, "You're alive." Barely. Adrian tried to have me killed. Father protected me but exiled me. I've been... He shrugged. Wandering. Figuring out who I am without the family. And now you're here. I needed to see if you were real, if you actually made it, built something. He looked past me into the apartment. It looks like you did. I did, no thanks to you. I know, and I'm not here to ask for forgiveness or a second chance. I needed to see that you were okay, that something good came out of all the damage I caused. I should have closed the door, should have told him to leave and never come back. Instead, I said, "Do you want coffee?" He looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "No, but you traveled halfway around the world. Coffee is the least I can do." We sat in my small kitchen, drinking coffee, talking carefully. He told me about Adrian's fall, about the family fracturing, about choosing exile over complicity. I told him about Singapore, about my work, about building a life from scratch. Finally, I said, "Why did you really come here?" "Because I've spent 2 years trying to figure out how to make amends for what I did, and I realized I can't. Some things are too broken to fix, but I could at least let you know. I'm sorry, truly. And I'm glad you escaped, even if it meant I lost everything." "You didn't lose everything. You got free too. That has to count for something." "Does it? Because I still dream about you. Still wish things had been different, that I'd approached you honestly instead of manipulating everything." He set down his cup. "I fell in love with you watching you look at art. I should have just introduced myself, asked you to coffee, been honest from the start. Would I have said yes? I don't know, but at least it would have been real." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I said, "I hated you. For months. For what you did. You should still hate me. Probably. But you also saved me. Helped me fight back. Chose me over your family when it mattered. That complicates things." I looked at him. "I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you, but maybe Maybe we can figure out what comes next. Without manipulation, without lies, just two people who survived something terrible and are trying to be better. I'd like that, even if it's just friendship. Even if you never trust me completely, I'd like to be in your life honestly for once. Then stay in Singapore for a while. Let's see if we can build something real out of all this damage. He stayed. Got a job consulting for security firms, using his skills legitimately. We saw each other carefully, building something slow and honest. It took a year before I could touch him without thinking about manipulation. Another 6 months before I could kiss him without wondering what his angle was. But gradually, I started to believe it was real. That Luca was genuinely trying to be better. That we could build something that wasn't based on lies and control. 3 years after running from my wedding, Luca asked me to dinner at an expensive restaurant. I thought he might propose, and spent the whole day anxious, not ready for that step yet. Instead, he handed me a folder. Red leather, exactly like the one I'd found that night in Adrian's study. I almost threw it at him. "What is this?" "Open it." Inside were photographs. Of me, but recent ones. Walking to work, having coffee with friends, laughing in my apartment, living my real life. And underneath, a note in Luca's handwriting. "This is Sofia Marchetti. She's brilliant, strong, resilient, and completely herself. She survived manipulation and abuse and built a life that's entirely her own. I'm in love with her, not the idea of her, not a manufactured version, her. And this time, I'm asking honestly, will you build something with me? No games, no control. Just two people who found each other in the worst way possible and are trying to make something beautiful anyway." L. I looked at him, at his nervous expression, at the vulnerability in his eyes. "You made another folder." "I wanted to show you the difference. Then it was surveillance. Now it's just me documenting a life I'm grateful to witness. Then I was manipulating. Now I'm just hoping." He took my hand. "I love you, Sofia. Really love you. And I'm asking, not demanding, not forcing, just asking, if you could maybe love me too. Eventually, when you're ready." I thought about the woman I'd been 3 years ago. The one who'd almost married Adrian, who'd been so controlled she didn't realize she was trapped. Thought about who I'd become. Strong, independent, certain of myself in ways I'd never been before. And I thought about Luca, who'd helped me escape, even knowing it would cost him everything. Who'd spent 3 years earning trust instead of demanding it. Who looked at me now like I was precious, not because I was an acquisition, but because I was myself. I said, "I think I could, eventually, when I'm ready." That's enough, more than enough. He smiled, genuine and warm. "Thank you for giving me a chance to do this right." We built something real after that. Slow and careful and honest. Got married 5 years after I'd run from my first wedding. Small ceremony, just us and a few friends. Nothing manufactured or controlled. Just two people choosing each other freely. And sometimes I thought about Adrian, about what he'd tried to make me, about the cage disguised as luxury. Thought about how close I'd come to losing myself completely. But I'd escaped, had fought back, had taken control of my own life, and built something beautiful out of the wreckage. That was worth everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you enjoyed Sofia's journey from manipulated bride to independent survivor, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Did you think Luca deserved a second chance, or should Sofia have cut him off completely? I love hearing your thoughts on these complex redemption arcs and impossible romances built on terrible foundations. If you're new here, consider subscribing because I post stories like this every day, exploring what happens when people discover their lives have been controlled and have to fight for freedom. Drop a comment with what kind of story you'd like to hear next. Maybe another escape story, or something completely different. Your suggestions help shape what I create. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.